Next, I interview Kim Biddle, and she talks about the amazing things she's doing in the city of Los Angeles to fight human trafficking. Coming up next, check it out.
So Kim, you have a pretty dynamic ministry reaching not just women, really reaching everyone and bringing awareness to this really horrible thing that's happening in the world today that seems to be gaining incredible momentum, and that is the human trafficking industry. And you're doing incredible kingdom work on behalf of this, but maybe it's good for us to begin to hear a little bit of your story, kind of where you came from. How did you get involved in all of this?
My story started back in, really in my upbringing. I am a survivor of sexual abuse and various forms of abuse, and that really, I think, drove my heart to have compassion for girls and boys and women who are submitted to this type of crime and victimization. And so when I was traveling overseas with a church that I was a part of and was working with, we were going over to Bangkok in Thailand to do some work over there, and we were invited by the International Justice Mission to see some of the work that they were doing. And so they took us down, these village streets where there was brothels set up to sell children. And I can still very vividly remember that morning, driving down those streets and seeing the little kids playing inside, and the white men, the Western man, standing outside, sort of waiting for his turn to make his purchases. And at the end of this street, this obscure village town, was a church that had been abandoned, and all the windows were boarded up. And I just thought, what is happening?
What a crazy symbol.
Where is God in this? How are people not aware of this? Who is this white man, and who are these kids, and how is this all happening? And it was so overwhelming for me, and stirring up a lot of my experiences and passion to help this type of population. And sort of from that, I kept coming back to that white man that was standing outside those stores, and I thought, who is he, and what countries is he from, and when he comes back to his countries, what does that mean? And so it sort of brought me back home to the United States to answer that question, and to realize that those same men were coming home and affecting our own communities and our own children, and that wasn't just left while he was on vacation.
And they'll just go and grab a kid, right? I mean, they'll see a kid, they'll go to parks and things or whatever.
These criminals are smart. Most of them are, business savvy guys, and or women. And so, it happens two ways. It happens with, the blatant kidnapping. They target schools, they target malls, they target orphanages and group homes where they know, there might be vulnerable children, or children who, when they go missing, no one will report missing. The vulnerable communities, impoverished communities. But it's also done a lot through coercion. Social media is a huge forum for that. Facebook, befriending kids on Facebook and Instagram, and they're enticed into promises. Come to California, come show up at this corner because we're shooting a music video and we'd love you to be a part of it. That's why it's so popular, especially, or alive and thriving, and especially where we are in Southern California, because we're one of the entertainment capitals of the world. And so with that comes a lot of opportunity to coerce young girls into the entertainment industry, but in actuality, it's into the sex trafficking world.
I have a friend who was a reporter, and he helped kind of bring light to this years ago. He had heard about what was going on in Thailand, and he and a friend had hidden cameras and pretended to be buyers, and they went to a brothel, and he went up to the guy and said, hey, do you have any children? And the man said, no, we don't do that here, and it really tested him. And he said, well, I'm willing to offer a lot. And so eventually got the guy to take him into a room, and they opened the room, and it was completely dark, and inside there were like 8 or 9 little children that when the door opened, they all screamed.
Oh, wow.
And went against the wall in fear. And And he got this on tape. He just, I mean, his heart completely, I mean, I don't know how you see something like that and you realize there is real evil in the world. Like, this is like something so, just so horrible. Like, if you have kids too, I mean, it makes it even worse. And
it's an attack on children and on our most innocent.
It is. It is an attack on children. A lot of people think, well, it's not happening in my country, right? This isn't happening in Holland or Germany, or especially here in the States. We don't say like this is happening here in New Zealand. So, but that's not true, right? I mean, like it is. This is happening here in our backyard. In LA, is actually particularly bad, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, we're one of the top in the nation.
I mean, there's always been human trafficking, but the last 10, 15 years has been way out of hand, crazy. Yeah. And something else happened 10, 15 years ago. Really, the emergence of the internet and pornography.
That's right.
I think a majority of men regularly engage in some kind of using the internet, and the two are actually related. So some guy looking at porn in his apartment is in a way contributing to the evil that's going on in the human trafficking world. Is that true?
Right, absolutely. You know, the industries are not divided. You know, people ask me, how many of your girls who were trafficked and sold to men were also advertised online, were forced into being a part of pornographic images and film? And it's 100% all the time. The industries are not divided. They cross over completely. Yeah. And I think one of the greatest lies that men have believed is that it affects no one.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's the inward sin. Mm-hmm. It's the inward problem that only maybe affects themselves. Yeah. And that's one of the greatest lies. Like you said, we are interconnected. It affects themselves and their family, but it affects their community.
What's weird is it seems like that same spirit of secrecy that seems to be, with most men in their sort of personal sexual lives, dealing with pornography and things like that, that same spirit is the thing that's kind of keeping the human trafficking industry secret as well. Right. And the secrecy is really, in a way, the problem, right?
Right. And that's a perfect way of putting it. The thing that's driving sex trafficking in the porn industry and a lot of other crimes is that element of exploitation. Taking advantage of the vulnerable for self-gratitude, for a selfish need or a selfish want. Yeah. And that exploitation is what is driving everything. And if a man can recognize, that he is not just harming himself, but harming others, harming his family. He's setting a tone for his community. He's setting a tone for who he thinks a man should be. Yeah. And the greatest lie that the enemy has told men is that they're not powerful, that they're not affecting others. Yeah. When in actuality, God created men to be extremely powerful. God created men to be protectors.
Kim, how can people support you in what you're doing?
I would love people to come to our website, savinginnocence.org, and support our efforts to rescue these kids. And just can click on the donate button, and they can buy rescue kits and join our efforts to get these kids back into safe homes.
Secrecy really is the weapon of darkness in this scenario. I mean, and the way to fight it is to make it not so secret anymore, right? And even though it may be an uncomfortable topic, it's really good. If the opportunity presents itself to talk about what's actually happening in human trafficking, and hopefully this can become a major issue in the public arena of America, and I think that will have an effect on everything, right?
Absolutely. And for people to start reporting, calling law enforcement if they see something suspicious, calling the national hotline if they suspect that there's might be trafficking in their neighborhoods. We need to start having a voice and reporting things. Crimes only get solved when the good people stand up and do something.
Kim, thank you so much for taking your time. We're so happy for what you're doing, and I know this is a pretty dark subject, but the best thing we can do is just talk about it, support people like you in your ministry, be praying for your work, because it seems like a lot of spiritual burden.
Absolutely.
And thank you for everything you do. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you so much for having us.